Corky Myrtle's real-life Avi produces the 48-hour film project in San Francisco and San Jose. He is the co-founder and one of the facilitators for the reoccurring workshop series, The Actors Workshop. Through Schoolhouse Earth Media Labs, he is a movie maker, a storyteller, a tinker, and an activist with a passion for education. Although he will readily take the stage or stand in front of the camera, his proper place is in the writer's circle or in the production office. He tells us that the new variety show he's producing, Be My Guest, is just the beginning of a string of shows. I'm so jealous. Although most of Corky's prior experience in media production is with live action projects, he is passionate and excited about the things that are possible when producing media in the virtual environment. He claims that using Machinima will cut hundreds of hours and potentially tens of thousands of dollars when compared with traditional animation. We welcome Corky to Tirek. I met Corky at Guthrie's on a weekend. I don't know if you know about this folk venue, but everybody goes there on Saturday. It's a place to meet people. And fate has a way of bringing creative people together. And I just happened to be looking at his profile while he was looking at mine. It's nice somebody looks at mine. Because of that, I learned about his Actors Workshop here in SL and even participated when I was able. I think he's getting tired of me reading Aaron Brockovich. There is so much to ask you, Corky, but let's start with the 48-hour film project. When was it founded and what were its goals?
This event was founded by two people. They decided, filmmakers, to see if they could put a reasonable, credible film together in just a weekend. And they did and had a great deal of fun with it and decided it would make a fabulous competition. So it's the oldest of the time-based film competitions that exist, and it's kind of the largest. It's in over 90 cities worldwide. Over that time, there have been other festivals that have emerged that use that same format, that challenge filmmakers to work in a really short envelope. But the 48 has been so far the most successful.
And who does it serve? And this is a real-life event?
Yeah, it happens in 90 cities. In San Francisco, it's been here for 7 years. In San Jose, this is the fifth year. In fact, we have our awards next week in San Jose, downtown. That's where my head has been over the last couple of weeks, is getting that awards show ready. And I'm not sure how to describe who it serves. I think there are three populations. The first are the filmmakers themselves. And the way that it serves them is it provides them a vehicle to assemble a team, get real busy putting a film together, and then the opportunity to have it seen by a theater audience. So when you put a film into the 48-hour film project, if you bring it in at the end of the weekend, if you bring a film in, even if it's after the deadline, we make sure that gets seen by a packed house theater audience. So to that extent, it serves the filmmakers. And then obviously it serves the community, the surrounding community, because it brings new works to play. And I got to tell you, Netera, some of these films are amazing. I find them humbling, because I think even with 2 weeks or 2 months, I'd be hard pressed in some cases to get the kind of quality that I see from some of these teams as they produce them for the weekend, just during a weekend. And there's one in Chicago.
Really? Oh, gosh. Why didn't you give them the website so they can check it out themselves after the chat?
Sure, absolutely. It's fairly mnemonic. It's film.com and then /city. So if you put Chicago in there, you'll see what happened in Chicago for this year's event. Now, the filmmaking competitions for this year are complete. Like all 90 cities, not all 90 cities, but all U.S. cities have completed their competition weekend. And there are still a few of the international competitions. I believe there's one in Hamburg. There's one, I hear of a new one coming in South America, Argentina, I believe. And there are a number of other cities that still have competitions ahead. But the next step for us is that the winners from each of the 90 cities will be showcased again at a film festival in New Mexico. This happens in February at a big event we call the Filmapalooza. So it's like the roll-up of all the top films from across the world in this competition. It's pretty amazing.
That's cool. Corky, what I want to ask is, so that we understand it better, are they working on a particular theme that the competition assigns them, or is it whatever they want to do?
Well, here's how it looks. We want to make sure that the competitors make their film during the weekend. And we don't want them to put something together nice and then wait for the competition and submit it. So to sort of enforce that, what we do is we have them draw their genre randomly from a hat at the beginning of the weekend. So what it looks like is in San Jose, we'll go down to a local theater where they have an improv comedy troupe, and they let us use their theater for the kickoff. All the filmmakers come down, and then just before the top of the hour, we have them come up and they each draw their genre. Some get cop, detective cop, or drama, or comedy, or romantic comedy. And then once they all have their genre in hand, the next step is that we give them a character and a line of dialogue and a prop. And every single film has to incorporate those three elements. So in the first year in San Jose, we gave them the prop peanut butter. And we saw, out of all the films that were turned in, we saw Assault by Peanut Butter, Assault by Peanut Butter jars. We saw peanut butter atomized and sprayed over the mayor. They used the prop in really creative ways. Last year they gave us a laptop as a prop for San Jose, and we saw several assaults by laptop. We saw laptops used for all kinds of different things, including its natural purpose. So they don't really get a chance to decide what movie they're going to make beforehand, but they can do planning. They can, set up all their locations, their production documents, their workflow, get their workflow tight. And then when it's Friday night, they can begin with the writing, and that's the key. Then they write it, shoot it, direct it, cut it, turn it in, we show it. It's hot.
Now, are these these participants, are they film students, or are they simply interested in making short films? Anybody, any age?
It varies, actually. So we draw film students, of course. They love to play in this game because it's very rewarding, and often the film students have a decided edge in the competition. We see a lot of hobbyists, so people get their family together and make a movie and turn it in. And then we also even see industry professionals will compete, because what I've discovered over the years I've been producing this event is that it does two things that are really powerful for filmmakers. One is it incents them to get the job done. I have a project that's been sitting on my desk for 2 years. It's a short film. It's under 20 minutes, and it's been sitting here for 2 years. But if I enter in a competition and I have to turn it in Sunday night, I use the practices that get the job done so we can get the film in on time. And we don't dither over, should we use this music, or should we replace that, or I don't know, should we reshoot that part? You don't have time for that. So that's one of the things that incents them to get the job finished. And the other is that in that process, filmmakers also get the opportunity to discover who they want to work with, like when, because who you want to work with is really a function not only of skill, talent, and experience. Making a film in 48 hours, you find out what's workable and who's workable. And so I think those are the two benefits to filmmakers. And then we draw from all over. So industry professionals like to play, hobbyists, students. It's a wide range.
Is there a participation fee or a tuition?
Well, there's an entry fee, yes. The entry fee is right around the range of $150. If you get in, there's the early bird and there's the late deadline fees and all the rest, but it hovers around $150. And so that goes to keep the national organization or the worldwide organization running, keep the brand in play, get us publicity in our individual city markets, and also it's kind of a demonstration of commitment to the process, because all of us would think, well, gee, I could probably make a movie in 48 hours. And the ones who are really going to do that, we'll put a little bit of money on the table. You just go pick the family's pocket or have a bake sale, and off you go.
Can you see I think you can see this on YouTube, can't you?
The organization used to have a website dedicated to showing the films. It was called 48.tv, and the technology that underpinned that site eventually eroded. The company that made it went away. So they're out to launch a new one this coming year. So what normally happens for people to be able to see the films is that the individual city producers like me will aggregate them on YouTube. The filmmakers themselves will release their films on YouTube. The best way that I've found to keep in touch with what people are making in 48-hour film project competitions is to follow the Twitter hashtag 48HFP. So if you go to if you use like TweetDeck or Seismic or something, and you go in and search for this hashtag, you'll see what individual filmmakers are talking about in their updates. And quite often they will they'll post their film as soon as it's legal for them to do so. So
now
there are a ton of
tell us about Schoolhouse Earth Media Labs. Who is involved in this, and what's the mission statement?
Well, so Schoolhouse Earth is a nonprofit organization dedicated to education. Its mission is to provide education and to bolster education wherever we find a gap. And then Schoolhouse Earth Media Labs is a subdivision of that organization. And its purpose, it does two things actually. One is it does workshops like the Actor Sandbox here in Second Life. And actually we do the Actor Sandbox in Skype and also in real life, and I'll tell you more about that later. And then the other piece that we do at Media Labs is we also provide opportunities for internships and for filmmakers to learn the craft on the job, like on projects with us. And the last piece is that we actually produce media that's designed to educate directly. So in addition to training media producers and media makers, we also produce media that it has an educational objective of its own. So
this is a real life or a Second Life? I think it's a real life project, right?
Yeah, it is. Second Life. Schoolhouse Earth is a United States 501c3 corporation, and it's a part of a larger organization that has other educational objectives as well. But yeah, absolutely, we're in the world, and we make a difference wherever we can. In fact, it's because of that I came to Second Life. That's what drove me here. Now I'm stuck. Have any of you figured out how to get unstuck? I'm stuck in
You're
Second
not
Life.
stuck.
Oh,
now,
yeah,
so tell us more about that. That's my next question. What brought you to this virtual world?
Oh, okay. Well, so, there are two really compelling possibilities here in Second Life. And the first is education itself, and I don't have to justify very long why that's the truth, because you can find several hundreds of higher learning institutions that have invested in facilities here, and in a couple of cases especially, you see significant investments to the extent of entire sims and whatnot. So the use of virtual space for education is something we've been looking at really closely for a long time, people in the field of education. But then on top of that, the opportunity to create media here through Machinima is extraordinary. I mean, you could create Machinima with anything. There are specialized software platforms like iClone, and there are other virtual spaces you can use like World of Warcraft or Sims 2. But what's amazing about Second Life is that there's no definitive look of Second Life. If I want it to look goth and all dark, I can do that. And if I want it to look all space-aged and shiny, that's easy to do. If I want to create a wonderful cafe setting so I can interview musicians, I can easily do that. In fact, you seem to have discovered that for yourself. So the range of expression for media inside Second Life is extraordinary. And those two things together drew me here. And I have just begun to delve in a year. I've just begun to scratch the surface of what's possible. So,
do you think it's heaven for your creative soul?
I think that's very well put. Yes, it often is actually too. I find a lot of times that if I have 5 things on my desk that need to be done, the one that calls me to be here is the one that shouts the loudest to me. Oh, we need some B-roll from that funny ocean French mermaid sim. I better get out and do that, even though I probably should be calling somebody back to rent a theater. So, yeah, it's heaven, and it's also kind of a draw, like an attractive draw.
It's a lure. That's
Yeah,
what
exactly.
it is. Welcome, Misty. When you first came here, what did you want to try first, and what did it take to get involved?
Good question. Well, I came to watch the highlights from the 48-hour film project in Machinima. In fact, you interviewed Chantal Harvey recently, and she
Yes,
runs
I did.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's wonderful and so generous. And so I got an invitation to come to see the highlights, the Machinima highlights for the 48-hour film project, because I have a deep interest in seeing what people do in every city and in every setting. So in addition to there being like a 48-hour film project in San Francisco where people, I think we had about 70 movies turned in that were, in San Francisco. They had a San Francisco look. There's one at Burning Man. There's one in Second Life. Or not in Second Life. It's actually called the Machinima one, but this is where we see the highlights and all the rest.
You mean
And
Leah at the Leah Sim?
I'm not clear where she'll be holding the highlights. Last year, I believe it was University of Western Australia where they held the highlights. They had a big theater there to screen the highlights. I'm not sure what she'll be up to this year, but you know what? It's coming up soon. So I believe the competition weekend, you know what? I better not say. Chantal has accurate information available that you could find, or you can do, the URL I gave earlier. You can say 48hourfilm.com/machinima, and it will.
Anybody who would like to see Machinima, the Lindens, the Leah Sim, LEA Sim, shows, features a month of Machinima. You sit in a cone-shaped theater on this big sim, which even has a sandbox to produce sets. And you can watch as many different Machinimas, and it's always very quiet there. So just check it out. LEA is the name of the sim. And Chantal, as Corky is saying, is probably one of the lead Machinima people in Second Life. She's really cool, and I think she inspires a lot of other people that do it as well. What I wanted to ask you next is, did you dive right into learning about production in Second Life?
It took me a little while. I went to a meeting that happens on a weekly basis called Machinima Mondays, and I met some of the folks there, and I saw some of the work they'd created. And I was kind of looking with an eye for what would this add to my work? Where could I use this sort of thing in the work that I'm doing, in the work Schoolhouse Earth is doing? So that really was probably what inspired me the most at the beginning. I came to learn about how we can do education and workshops, and we've had some opportunities to play with that and get some traction in expanding and evolving that art. But for Machinima, what I saw for myself was that I have a short film and a short series that have been on my desk for a long time. I have scripts, and I've thought about how I want to produce them, but I've always been really apprehensive about creating animated content. For Machinima, the way that animated content gets created is just super expensive, and it's very time consuming. And you can do it with less financial resources if you're willing to take more time, right? Because more people and people power could get it done. But it's beyond the range of most independent media producers, or for that matter, even a small nonprofit. But when I saw what was possible by using a virtual space to create animation, I could see that the two of these projects that I just mentioned, my short film and my series, were something that I could readily produce and very rapidly. In fact, I have a couple of other projects that I've started to think, I could probably speed those up if I came and did them as Machinima, or did parts of them as Machinima. So I was jazzed about it right away, and the adventure is just beginning, really.
And who did you meet along the way?
Well, I met Chantal, of course, because that's who invited me here. And I was just so impressed with her commitment to community and her commitment and generosity to stimulate and empower new filmmakers. And I met some of the people that are in this room, too. Chibi in the corner there is one of my neighbors at Chilbo. And
cool.
yeah, and I saw Mary Wickentower here. I don't know if she's still with us, but
Mary's here.
Oh yeah, and she's
in the back.
She's a quite competent media producer. She's produced several beautiful machinima pieces and been a participant in our Actors Workshop many times in the Sandbox. And let's see who else. Well, obviously, what's missing is I haven't said anything at all about my co-facilitators at the Sandbox, and one of them is in. They weren't able to be here today. I think one of them has her show right now, but. The folks who helped me create the Sandbox and facilitate it are Witch Whisperer Sadovsky, and some of you might know her from the Spotlight or from This Week. What do they call that show? They have a weekly show where they review machinima, and its name is escaping me. And then
on Treat TV.
It's I think it is Treat. Yeah, I think they have a show on Treat. It's called. The Weekly Look. That's what it's called, The Weekly Look, and I believe that's on Treat. And so she gets to see a lot of machinima, and review it with her colleagues on the show. And then Susie Yu is the creator of Susie's Cast and Crew. To my knowledge, it's the only Second Life casting company for machinima actors. So Susie is really strongly committed to the concept that machinima is enriched by having actual actors work in it rather than some of us sitting in our workshops and creating an entire piece all by ourselves and maybe a voiceover from the girlfriend or something. And I'm not saying that's all machinima, but what I am saying is that what Susie stands for is that when you bring actors and well-trained actors to the production, they enrich it because each one of them takes ownership and responsibility for one of the characters. And that frees the producer to be more focused on the overall production picture and free of that detail. How should this woman stand in this scene, and what should she wear, and so on. So we're really committed to creating a bigger pool of actors that are available to all machinima producers, those who want to use actors, of course.
That's my next question. Tell us about the Actors Workshop, what I have participated in. Whose idea was it, and was it created to give machinima actors more experience, or just anybody?
Well, so the idea was born several years ago when... Okay, this is a confession. Is this on the air, Gio? It was created several years ago when I needed some shots for a project I was working on. So I invited a group of actors together to do a workshop, an exercise workshop, knowing that while I had them together, I could actually get the actress I needed, get shots with her. We could have just booked her and done a shoot, and it would have been fine. But I had this demand around me, emerging demand for people who wanted to learn more about being voice actors. So we drew them together, and we did kind of something very much like what you saw in Second Life. Now, this first time out, it was just a real life thing. We went to a studio. We invited a little over half a dozen actors that we knew from the area, and we brought a couple of camera operators, and we did a setup, and then we had people read monologues. Actually, you know what I had them read is I had them read Dr. Seuss, from Dr. Seuss. I had them read the story of Too Many Daves. Do you know that one, Netera? Too Many Daves?
I don't.
Well, did I ever tell you
cute.
that Mrs. McCabe had 23 sons and she named them all Dave? Well, she did. Anyway, so we had them read that, and then we also had them read the text from Arrogant Bastard Beer. Now, on the back of the bottle, it's ale actually, on the back of the Arrogant Bastard ale bottle, there's a passage. Mostly, in essence, it says, you're probably not worthy of this beer, so if you think you won't like it, just put it back and get something easier for yourself. That's the essence of the message, but it's much more articulately laid out, and it's quite delightful. So we had the actors read that, and then we also made them read from from Daniel Webster. There's a great monologue in there. And it turned out to be such a success. What actually happened that was unexpected to me, because we just did it for actors, right? But what happened was that some of the people who came to participate were also producers of media, and they, have in this context, they met other people and said, wow, that girl's really good. And so in the inevitable waiting times that happen in any workshop or production shoot, they were able to connect and network, and the next thing I know, I saw some of these people showing up in each other's productions, and I said, that's really good. We should be doing more of that. So soon after I came to Second Life, we established a Second Life version, and for voice actors, we actually also ran a Skype version for a little while. We do that on a kind of on-demand basis still. And so really, while it's for actors, it's also for us, the producers, and it's also for the people that have an interest in theater and want to see actors evolving, because our Sandbox is an open enrollment, open participation event. You show up on the Wednesday when it happens, and if you want to participate as an actor, you're free to do that. If you want to just observe, we welcome that. So that's the first piece of the workshop, is that we have the first element is we take the participants through essentially the opening stanzas of stagecraft, taking the stage, establishing yourself, owning the stage, and then delivering material and interpreting. So that's usually about the first third or half of the workshop, and then we also do some exercises with avatar motion, scene, and so we'll get set up for your 4 people on the stage and have them move on cue, find their marks, and move to their appropriate marks. And then occasionally we'll also have somebody bring in material, somebody that's been working on material, and we'll have them interpret it, maybe even have someone else give it a try as a cold read. So we really want to create a range of exercises that keep it interesting and that create an incentive for people to return. Because after a while, you will get tired of that monologue, Netera. It may take a while, but yeah. So we rotate the material a little bit, and we also try to make sure that the exercises stay somewhat fresh. And I got to tell you, recently we've added another layer to the workshop, and some of you who are media producers will find this compelling. There's a severe shortage in the Machinima community, and especially in Second Life, of competent camera operators. Now, most people that make Machinima, they are their own camera operators, and that's great, but there just aren't enough to go around to get all the work done that needs to be done. Like, somebody wants to televise your show, Netera. This is a lovely show and a
very cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad people like it. I love it.
Well,
it's
and
just what I love doing.
It's that kind of thing that gives a great demand. So what we started doing is, while the Actors Sandbox is happening, we've actually begun to invite emerging camera operators and established ones to participate with us in filming the workshop. And then at the end of the workshop, we'll debrief the intern camera operators and talk about what techniques they used, what kind of results they got. So in addition to breeding additional new acting talent, we're out to create more Machinima recording capacity too. So
now tell them about the where this is taking place. Give them a landmark. Tell them that it's in a studio. It looks like a real studio, like as if you would go to Hollywood. That's a great aspect of it too.
Yeah. So Susie created a movie lot, and it contains 4 sound stages and a theater and some outdoor setups. It's called Running Lady Productions, and so if you Second Life search for Running Lady Studios, you'll find a landmark to her soundstage. And then we work in soundstage 1, and I just shared the scripts that we use in the workshop, the ones that are currently active. I just shared those with the audience here. And before we finish, what I'll do is I'll share out a note card that has the landmark embedded in it too, so you can find it.
That's great. I'm sure people would like to give it a try. Yeah, and it deserves more promotion. It really does.
Well, thanks.
Because, I really think, what I'm doing, I think there are other people who want the opportunity to have a chat, and we can't seem to go. I mean, we're not treat TV material, but we bring in an audience. I've done this for 2.5 years, and I want to continue doing it. And so I'm sure there's other people who want to do things like this, and they just need the people on SL need to know it's here so they can participate.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me about Be My Guest, Corky.
Okay. Real quick before we leave the Sandbox, I wanted to point out that the timing on the Sandbox is somewhat predictable. So even if you don't know where our website is or know where the schedule is, how you can find us is that we're there every Wednesday, and we have a workshop at noon or at 6 p.m. We alternate between those two, and that gives us a chance to serve actors in different time zones. So this coming week, for instance, it's at 6 p.m. Yeah, I'm just going through my memory. Yeah, it's at 6 p.m.
Go ahead.
So that's Wednesday at 6 p.m. The following week it will be at noon. These are all Second Life times. And then just to be sure that we also serve some of our colleagues who are in the UK and in Europe, we have a 6 a.m. Workshop once a month. In fact, this coming Wednesday, this is the week. We do it the first Wednesday. And I'm telling you about this because I want you guys to all come to that, because I got to get up at 6 in the morning to be there, so I want somebody to show up.
We might as well too. Yeah.
Yeah, actually one of our facilitators, Witch Whisper, just switched to the Eastern time zone, the U.S. Eastern time zone, so she's actually at a more humane time for that particular thing. But this coming Wednesday, then at 6 a.m. and at 6 p.m.
Now, all these people who participate in this Actors Workshop, do they get spots? Do they get roles in Machinima? Or, are they chosen?
Some of them do. The workshop is not a casting event, so we're not there for the purpose of casting people. But it's inevitable and irresistible that if a media producer is sitting there in the chairs and somebody nails one of the monologues or shows some extraordinary talent and creativity, well then there's going to be invitations. I'll confess I've cherry-picked a half dozen folks to be in different spots that I'm doing based on watching them in the Actor Sandbox. So,
there's I know you have this Be My Guest, but I thought it would be really cool to bring a show format like The View to Second Life, and I'm looking into that.
Very cool.
So, but I mean, if somebody with a bigger studio would get involved, hint, hint, I think it could be one of the shows that, maybe something we could work on together. Like, I don't know, you seem to be real busy though.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the secret about it. Everybody in this room is real busy. Everybody in every one of those chairs is real busy. And the way I relate to it is, so I'm busy. So what else you got? What else is exciting? And can I get my arms around it? So we'll collab. Find me in the green room after. But yeah, so we'll keep talking. But yeah, absolutely. There's so much opportunity for cross-pollination. Now, Be My Guest is actually cross-pollination kind of in the other direction, because I'm not building it. I'm not designing it to be yet more Second Life television. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love Treat TV. I actually have it in my studio where I go, my home. I have it running so I can see what they're up to and what are they producing. But the secret is not yet out in the mainstream. And so Be My Guest is a mixed reality show. It's not only Second Life Machinima. It's only half that. The other half is what I'm accustomed to and experience, that live production. So Be My Guest is a variety show, and we'll feature music, and we'll feature comedy and short films, and those come from all over. Some of the short films are Machinima, some of them are live action. Same with the music, the same with the comedy. And I'm really excited about this premiering. In fact, I'm impatient now, because it's time that I want people to see this. And then where we'll air it we'll air it in one of the traditional sort of metaverse television platforms. We haven't chosen a partner for that yet, but I'm actually more concerned with and more interested in the other platforms that are available to make media available. YouTube is not good enough for our purposes because it's like it's a big pool, and there's some cream at the top, and that's great, but how do you find it? So we're actually interested in platforms that can deliver this online for us, get us to an audience, and then also even reach all the way as far as the sofa where people are watching video on demand. So that's the target for Be My Guest. And we've actually booked a number of great artists. The way that I met you, for instance, was we were at a show, Terry Lynn Melody was performing.
Yeah,
at Guthrie's, right.
So you'll be the host on the stage, and you'll be in this metaverse, possibly theater, and somebody will be filming it?
No, not at all. It's the format of a variety show. Think about back to the days of like the Carol Burnett show or Laugh-In.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're not supposed to admit that. I saw it on
Yes,
TV Land
people
myself.
know how I'm middle-aged. I'm not ashamed
I think
of
we
it.
all are, baby. But seriously, yeah, well, it's interesting when I talk about the show with people. If they bring up Saturday Night Live and Second City TV, they're one age. If they bring up Carol Burnett and Hee Haw, they're a different age. And if they bring up Ed Sullivan...
And Corky, where'd Second City start?
Where did
Second City start?
Second City TV? It's a Chicago comedy show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, there's an actress who was part of the core cast at Second City TV. Her name is Melanie Chartoff. Maybe you remember her. But her name, I guess because of the way they said her name at the beginning of the show, it stuck in my head like forever and ever. And I did a little research. I was curious if she was related to another actress I was watching. And I discovered that Melanie Chartoff, in addition to being one of the core cast members at Second City TV, she invented something that I invented, but she actually went to the patent office and got it patented. It's a system that takes the water that comes like from your dishwasher and your sink and all the gray water that you heated your water and goes in the dishwasher and the washer. It takes that water and it gets the heat back out of it so you don't waste it. And I thought that was just fabulous. But it's also a reminder that people can be actors, but they also do other things. They're human beings and they have other interests in life, and they also create other fabulous, interesting things. Sometimes because of the notoriety or the leverage they've been able to get.
Now, what have you, Corky, what have you produced in terms of short films, you personally?
Well, I've done a number of music videos, and I produced a series. I don't know if we could call it short film, but probably my finest accomplishment as a producer was a series that was embedded in the CineQuest Film Festival. Now, CineQuest is a film festival that happens in San Jose annually, and it's a big darn deal. It's a regional, it's world accomplished, but it draws films from all over the region. They have a big international slate of films, and they're very respected for their short film programs and their short film selection. And we pitched them a few years ago at the idea of producing a series while the festival was happening that featured the filmmakers and the film goers and the buzz that surrounded the festival. And we ran that for a couple of years. It was really a sharp series, and it was really well received. It gave a lot of good exposure to a lot of talented people. And it opened up for me the realization that that's the joy of being a successful and good media producer, is that you simply give exposure to talented people. You get them exposed to an audience, and when you do that, then you're successful and so are they. It's a tough life, I tell you.
You prefer writing over acting?
Oh yeah, I don't consider myself an actor at all. I can do it if I have to, and I will, but mostly I'm just acting myself, So no, my drive is from the writing side because I'm a storyteller. And so to the extent that I have to act to get those stories told, I will. But I'd much rather have somebody who's way better than me at it do the work. And we've met a number of those people at the Actors Sandbox. Ava Jean Westland is a very accomplished Second Life actress as well as a real life actress. Caden O'Connell, one of the founders and linchpins of the Avatar Repertory Theater. Amazing talent, amazing range. And then every week somebody comes in and surprises me, someone I hadn't met before, and they give us a great performance or whatever, and then I write down their name, and we talk later and talk about what they might be up for.
Is there any questions before we end with Corky here? Anyone have any questions for him? Please go ahead.
Well, so
and,
let me just say that what we are hungriest for with Be My Guest are comedy writers and avatar actors. I have a wonderful collection of musicians who have committed to participate. In fact, I think you've interviewed some of them. There's Terry Lynn Melody, the lady that we were
Terry Lynn's
listening
been
to
here.
And we have an agreement in principle with Noma Falta. She's a great blues musician.
She's great.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, and I'm just so, you know what I really love about her? She can't do anything else except make music. I don't mean she can't cook. I mean, there's nothing that she can do except make music. If she tried to stop making music, she would just like wither up because she's about it, you know. And I don't know if you've ever had a chance to work with Hasidian Zarko, but he's this amazing, haunting, deep voiced singer and songwriter from I think Kentucky.
No,
really,
I did. I've heard of him, but he has not been a guest. I'd like to have him if you want to refer him here.
I'll hook you guys up because Chibi knows Hazy is amazing guy. So those are some of the core Second Life artists that we've engaged, and then we have some real life musicians that haven't yet discovered Second Life, is the way I relate to it. Amy Obenski is not only an amazing singer-songwriter from Santa Cruz, but a dear friend of mine. In fact, we did a music video together, and you know, she just floored me one day when she came to me and she gave me this song and she said, "Look, I want to make a music video, and when I wrote this, I was thinking of you making a music video with me on this." And so there was nothing I could do except follow through on that. And I'm just so proud of that video. I mean, right now it seems like everybody's making a music video, and some people are making tons of them. But
yeah,
I just
they are.
love what we were able to do with her song. It was so amazing. We engaged one of the top cinematographers in our area. We cherry-picked him out of the San Jose 48-hour film project, and we picked a really extraordinary editor. We cherry-picked him out of the San Francisco 48-hour film project, and then with Amy's music, it just came all together and made this amazing thing. In fact,
it's wonderful to get a team together, right, under one in one virtual world. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what it takes, I say, to be highly effective as a media producer is to bring the talented people, like the most talented people you can find, and together in a team, and then have that team be effective. And it's not easy, believe me. We've gone through lots of folks and worked with lots of different people and had a lot of teams where the wheels came off the bus before we got to the school. It just happens. But when you get it right, there's nothing more amazing than the lights go down and you roll media and audience sees it and they're pleased by it. So,
what are they using to film? What software do they use to film things?
Well, so there's not a simple answer to that, but I can give you a thumbnail set of answers, and there are people better qualified than me to give you the full detailed answer. But bottom line is this: if people are working on a PC, they usually get the software called Fraps, and it allows them to capture what's happening. And if they're working on a Mac, they tend to focus on either iShowU or possibly Camtasia is another choice for the Mac. And if you talk to practitioners, they'll tell you whatever their favorite is and tell you why that's really the only good choice. And that's cool. Listen to it all. And then there's another factor, and that is the viewer that you choose makes a big difference when you film. So I've done a little bit of camera test work with V2, with Viewer 2, just because that was what was there in front of me, and it was just fine for the screen test purposes. A lot of machinima makers prefer Kirsten's for some of its advanced image capabilities. I think photographers too. And I've been looking at Firestorm, and I shot a concert in Firestorm earlier this week, and I find nothing wrong with it. It certainly seems to work fine. But I think Kirsten's and Phoenix and probably Firestorm in the future will be the viewers that people tend to favor. And again, I didn't find anything wrong with Viewer 2. It's just that those other viewers will sometimes offer you advanced nuances that become important to you later as you begin to experience it. Really, Machinima is just like a screen. It's like a glorified screen capture. So the software that generates your screen is vital, and then the software used to capture with is pretty important as well.
I really hope Machinima, builds a bigger audience, because it's really interesting. I mean, you can just sit and just watch the creativity of the other people, in the Atlea theater.
Here are the software packages that I hear. I'll tell you what you really should do, though. If you're interested in this area, Fraps is a software you can get for the PC that will record. iShowU is the one I use on the Mac. And Camtasia Studio is also in use by a lot of people. And I've tried it. You'll find better information about what to choose, what to use by doing as you suggest, Netera, looking at a lot of Machinima and seeing what you like and who did a good job, and then asking those people what they use. And the one way you can get real quick access to that, besides, of course, going to see, just looking at the Machinima for yourself, is to show up at Machinima Mondays. It's an event that happens once a week on Mondays. That's why they called it that, I think. And it's at 7 p.m. Folks who gather there. So it's a range of people with experience who can tell you the answers to your questions, and people who are beginning and have a lot of questions, and maybe also are available to work on gigs with you and stuff. So that's what I see. I see Mary there sometimes. She shows off her work for us. And
Mary's really nice. I met her here before.
If you date a writer or a filmmaker or a songwriter, someone, Sedona said songwriters, you're going to be in the material later. But I tell you, the worst thing to do is to date a comic. Like, never, never, never date a comic, because statistically, you're almost certain to become material later.
Yeah. I had this girlfriend.
I was telling ex-wife jokes before I even had an ex-wife.
Right.
You know where to find me. On Wednesday, I'll be there 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and every other Wednesday over at
Do check it out, guys.
Running
It's
Lady.
really a cool experience. You'll have fun. If anything, you just listen and learn. You don't have to participate, but it's encouraged. And I even saw Lauren, the comedian. She was there, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate that you gave me some time. Well, thank you very much. And Corky, I will see you around. I'll see you on the grid.